Can the Australian government actually seize your home in 2026? If you're a homeowner over 55, you've probably seen the alarming headlines. Today, we're cutting through the confusion and giving you the facts about what's really happening with home seizure laws in Australia right now. Welcome to Aussie Retirement Alert, where we break down complex government rules into plain English you can actually understand. I'm here to give you the truth about Australian home seizure laws in 2026. No clickbait, no politics, just facts. Here's what you'll learn today. What home seizure laws actually exist in Australia right now? The specific circumstances where property can be legally seized, how aged care debt recovery really works, your legal protections as a homeowner, exactly what steps you should take to protect yourself. Let me be clear from the start. Your family home cannot be randomly seized by the government, but there are specific situations where property can be recovered, and you need to know what they are. Let's establish the baseline. In Australia, your principal place of residence, your family home, has always had strong legal protections. It's exempt from the age pension assets test. It cannot be taken to recover standard Centrelink debts. These protections have existed for decades. However, there are limited circumstances where the government can place charges on your property or recover money after you pass away. This isn't new. What's changed in recent years is how aggressively these mechanisms are being used, particularly around aged care costs. That's what's causing the confusion and the scary headlines you're seeing. Section 1. Aged care accommodation costs. The biggest area of concern right now is aged care accommodation. When you enter residential aged care, you may be asked to pay a refundable accommodation deposit, often called an RAD. This can be anywhere from $300,000 to over $1 million, depending on the facility. Here's what you need to understand. If you agree to pay this RAD but don't have the cash, the aged care provider can register a charge against your home. This charge stays on your property title until the RAD is repaid, usually when your home is sold. This means your home isn't seized, but it does have a legal debt attached to it. If you pass away and the RAD hasn't been repaid, your estate must settle that debt before your beneficiaries receive their inheritance. Many families are shocked when they discover this charge exists. Section 2. The aged care debt recovery process. Since 2018, the government has strengthened its ability to recover aged care costs from estates. If you received aged care services and didn't pay the full cost during your lifetime, Services Australia can claim those costs from your estate after you pass away. The official rule is this: the government can recover unpaid aged care fees, accommodation costs, and means-tested care fees from your estate. This includes your home if it's part of your estate. Your home won't be forcibly sold while you're alive, but your executor may need to sell it to settle debts before distributing inheritance. For example, if you lived in aged care for 5 years and accumulated $80,000 in unpaid fees, that amount becomes a debt against your estate. If your only major asset is your $600,000 home, your family will need to sell it or refinance to pay that debt. Section 3. Centrelink overpayment debt. This is where misinformation spreads fast. Standard Centrelink overpayments, like age pension debts, cannot trigger home seizure. The government cannot force you to sell your home to repay an age pension debt while you're alive. However, if you pass away with an outstanding Centrelink debt, it becomes a debt against your estate. This is different from seizing your home. Your executor must list all debts when settling your estate, and Centrelink debts are included. If your estate has assets, including your home, those debts must be paid before beneficiaries inherit. Pay close attention to this. Deliberate fraud is treated differently. If you're convicted of intentionally defrauding Centrelink, lying about assets, hiding income, courts can impose penalties that include asset seizure. This is extremely rare and requires criminal prosecution, not just an overpayment mistake. Section 4. Proceeds of crime legislation. Here's another situation that fuels scary headlines. Under the Proceeds of Crime Act 2002, law enforcement can seize property linked to serious criminal activity. This includes fraud, money laundering, or organized crime. If authorities prove your home was purchased with proceeds from crime or was used to facilitate criminal activity, it can be restrained and eventually forfeited. But this requires federal court proceedings and a high burden of proof. This is not about honest mistakes on your Centrelink form. This is about serious criminal conduct. For the average age pension recipient making genuine errors, this law does not apply. It's designed to target criminal enterprises, not everyday Australians. Section 5, Council Rates and Tax Debts. Local councils and the Australian Taxation Office have separate powers to recover unpaid debts. If you don't pay council rates for an extended period, your local council can eventually place a charge on your property and initiate forced sale proceedings. Similarly, if you owe significant tax debts and ignore repeated demands, the ATO can obtain court orders to seize assets, including property. These powers exist independently of Centrelink and aged care laws. The key point, these are not new 2026 laws. These debt recovery mechanisms have existed for years. What's changed is increased media attention and enforcement activity. Let's bust 3 major myths right now. Myth 1. The government is introducing new home seizure laws in 2026. Truth. There are no new home seizure laws being introduced this year. The laws currently in effect have been in place for years. What's increased is enforcement and public awareness. Myth 2. Centrelink can take your home if you owe them money. Truth. Centrelink cannot force you to sell your home to repay standard overpayment debts while you're alive. Your home is protected. Debts may be recovered from your estate after you pass away, but that's not seizure. That's normal debt settlement. Myth 3. Once you enter aged care, the government automatically takes your home. Truth. Your home is not automatically taken. You have choices about how to pay for aged care. If you agree to a refundable accommodation deposit and use your home as security, that's a voluntary agreement, not government seizure. Here are 5 specific steps you should take right now. Step 1. Request a full statement of your Centrelink account. Check for any outstanding debts or overpayments. Contact Services Australia at 132 300 if anything looks incorrect. Step 2. If you're approaching aged care, get independent financial advice before signing any accommodation agreements. Understand exactly what charges will be placed on your home. Step 3. Review your estate planning. Ensure your will is current and your executor understands all potential debts, including aged care costs and Centrelink obligations. Step 4. Keep meticulous records of all Centrelink communications, aged care agreements, and payment receipts. Documentation is your strongest protection. Step 5. If you receive a debt notice or legal claim you don't understand, do not ignore it. Seek help immediately from Services Australia, a financial counselor, or a lawyer specializing in elder law. Let's recap what you've learned today. Your home has strong legal protections in Australia. It cannot be randomly seized by the government. However, specific debts, particularly aged care accommodation costs and unpaid fees, can be recovered from your estate after you pass away. Standard Centrelink overpayments do not trigger home seizure while you're alive. The headlines are designed to shock you. The reality is more nuanced. Yes, there are circumstances where property can be recovered, but they're limited, specific, and governed by strict legal processes. You have rights, you have protections, and you have the power to plan ahead and protect your assets for your family. If this video gave you clarity, please hit that like button and subscribe to Aussie Retirement Alert. Share this with anyone you know who's been worried about these headlines. We're here every week breaking down the rules that matter to your retirement. Stay informed, stay protected, and remember, knowledge is your strongest asset.